What's up, Giga fam? I have been grinding the Black Ops 7 Warzone integration. I think it's fantastic. I'm well on my way to the Apocalypse Mastery camo. Gotten to use every gun pretty extensively at this point, and we also have access to the data, the TTKs, sprint to fire, all that stuff that's super important to figure out what is best. But the combination of the data analysis as well as the practical experience in the hands of a skilled, experienced player is going to give you the best kind of predictor of what the meta is. So while I've been focused on camo grinding, I know a lot of players don't really have time for all that. They kind of just want to be razor focused. What should they be leveling first? What should they be running so they can jump in with their boys and have some fun? A message to you grinders out there: go ahead and watch this video just for your own information, but I really recommend just exploring on your own. Don't be spoon-fed a cookie cutter meta. You'll kind of stunt your progression as a player, and you'll be thinking in a very linear way, where I encourage people to kind of find the meta for them. I also think you should be working toward the camo so that when you drop in, you don't have your loadout yet, any gun you pick up, you will have mastered. But with those disclaimers out of the way, I've gotten a ton of questions. What's the meta? What gun should I be running? What's the best guns? So I wanted to do a little side jaunt in between now and when I get that camo done to do a little meta analysis for you guys. It's been much requested. Of course, once I'm done with Apocalypse camo, I will be dropping optimal builds for every single gun in the game. That's what I do every single patch. That's what I'm known for, helping you find the meta for you. That's what it's all about, baby. So before we get into this data analysis and I just give my general recommendations of what I think the best long and close range guns are, smash that like button. Helps me out so much, and it's free to do. If you don't, I'll find you. Subscribe with notifications on. Join the Giga fam, best community in all of gaming. It's about you. It ain't about me. All I'm trying to do is increase your fun and fulfillment with the game. And swing by a live stream. I live stream right here on YouTube, as well as basically every platform. I'm multi-streaming now, so I would love for you to swing by, say hi. You can ask me questions. We can interact in real time. It's really good vibes too, especially on Twitch. That's where most of my longtime viewers are. But anyway, for the long range meta, you guys are gonna be surprised by some of this. So the first thing I want to point out, red line is the kilo. This was killing in the low 600s in its max damage range before the patch. So apparently they have nerfed some legacy guns, and even if they hadn't, there is some power creep. So the kilo is no longer going to cut it. Yeah, it's usable, and if you're skilled, you could probably get by with it, but I don't see any reason not to just run one of these better guns. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate that off it. I just wanted to have it up on this TTK chart over on codmunity.gg. So you guys could see that there's been some power creep and there's been nerfs to old guns. So we're going to remove the kilo from here. And the next standout is definitely going to be the MXR-17, guys. It's highly competitive. One of the best up close, a 600 millisecond TTK out to almost 40 meters, which is insane. Then there's this disgusting mid-range where the only thing that's beating it is the AK. And it has a little bit less recoil than the AK. That's out to almost 70 meters. And then out to like infinity, it kills faster than any of these kind of top tier options. And with, AR handling, I think it's going to be much better at ultra long ranges than like the LMG, right? So LMGs typically have less fall off. That's how they like to balance it. And yet the MXR is still killing faster than MK78. The other LMG is terrible, by the way. So if you want to run an LMG, go with the MK78. It's very good. You will lose up close. And because they, for some reason, gave the MXR a better TTK at ultra long range, there's really no reason to run it if you're trying to be like sweaty or competitive. But if you really like MGs, it is very good. I just think MXR right now is definitely overtuned. Definitely the standout. One of the better recoil plots, and the TTKs are absolutely disgusting. The next thing that should stand out to you guys is this purple line. The Mirage absolutely rips up close. Pretty big drop off in the mid range, but it has one of the best recoil plots. And these are still good TTKs mid range. So for kind of an aggressive player, or somebody who wants a little bit more like shots forgiveness, right? So an MXR 17 with a little bit more of a slow to moderate fire rate, it's going to be more punishing if you do miss shots. It's also going to be pretty frustrating on like high ping or if you have a bad connection. Whereas the Mirage with that faster fire rate, at least compared to MXR 17, you're going to have a much more consistency. So I think Mirage is definitely up there, sort of neck and neck with MXR. I think MXR is better on paper, but the Mirage you might find is a little bit better in practice for you. So I definitely think you should try both of those first if you're going to only focus on one gun. The AK, man, is probably my favorite. I adore this AK. It feels so good. It reminds me of the KN from Blackout. Just hard hitting, very controllable recoil. And in these mid ranges, these are money making fights too, man. You will decimate. So I think AK is very, very, very compelling, especially for skilled players. A lot of you might find that it is actually the meta for you. So you got to try that one as well. The next one we'll talk about a little bit is the X9 Maverick, just in terms of the ease of use and the practicality. Like a zero recoil auto bursting rifle. Absolutely insane, man. Kind of like the ABR on steroids. I think the Maverick is really, really, really good. You are going to lose out in terms of TTK though. Maybe more of a big map gun on the Maverick. But man, if you just want something that you can just jump in, easy to use, you're still going to laser beam people. You're probably not going to miss too many shots. Burst rifles can get crazy too, because when you send over those 3-4 volleys on a stationary target that doesn't know you're there yet, they'll get popped before they can even react. That's why burst guns have been notoriously hard for them to balance. There's been some broken ones in the past. I don't think Maverick quite hits that level of being broken though. And so therefore I would gravitate more to some of these really hard hitting versatile ARs. Kind of touched on MK78 a little bit. I do think it's the best MG. I think it's phenomenal. I just think these ARs are enough overtuned that that's what I would gravitate to if I was like gonna run a tournament or a wager, gifted sub challenge. Like if I'm really locked in, trying to drop my PR, really trying to win the games, leaderboard grinding, I would gravitate to one of those ARs. The Mirage, the MXR 17, the AK 27. If I had to pick one that I think is the most overtuned, especially on big map, I would say MXR 17. On Resurgence, it's really close, man. The Mirage shreds and it's going to be consistent. The MXR, yeah, overall, it's probably the most overtuned, but then the AK, these mid-ranges are so important. You're not going to take a lot of gunfights out here, especially on Resurgence. So AK is very compelling as well. These are all fantastic, though. You got to give them all a try. A couple of kind of miscellaneous guns that I wanted to point out to you guys. Just for your own kind of info, we have the Mirage up here just to kind of compare. I had some people call it the Peacekeeper as being meta. I think it's more of a sniper support, but even then, you should just run the Mirage because it has way better recoil. It's definitely not the meta long-range primary. Yeah, it's got some crazy TTKs, but so does the Mirage. So does some of those other guns we talked about. AK is going to smash these out here. Yeah, just a little bit too much recoil, but if the recoil doesn't bother you and you want to switch it up, it's a good gun. It's just not meta. M8 was brought up to me as being a potential meta. It's a little bit impractical with the delay between bursts, and it's not as low recoil as the Maverick. So if you really want a burst gun, if you really want to run a burst gun, I would run the Maverick. At long ranges, M8 is going to win out at most of those compared to Maverick, but the Maverick has better recoil. So I don't see a compelling reason to run the M8. I think it's less practical than the Maverick, and it's just not as good overall. So if you want to run a burst gun, go Maverick. M8's okay, but not meta. The Maddox, I was a little disappointed by, man. I guess just because I was grabbing it off ground loot. I thought it was really good. I thought, maybe it was one of the better guns, but on paper, it's horrible. That's why you can't always trust the bro science, guys. The Maddox is just not there in terms of TTK. I mean, it's fun to use and it's got some good recoil, so you could you could mess around with it, but losing by almost 300 milliseconds is insane. I mean, it's undertuned. Some of those guns are overtuned. This one's undertuned. These are terrible TTKs. So Maddox is definitely not in the mix. Before we get into the close range meta analysis, I wanted to mention that most of the kind of specialized guns like marksman rifles, even sniper rifles, as well as shotties, they're just not very good. I don't see a compelling reason to run them. Some of them are outright terrible, like the Warden, and others are just significantly more difficult to use to get an even lesser outcome compared to these brain dead, easy to use like regular guns, ARs, SMGs. In an environment where ARs and SMGs are a little bit overtuned and those specialty guns are undertuned, there's just no reason to run them. So it's unfortunate, but it kind of is what it is. If you do want to run like a barrel stuffer, a shotgun replacement, the Velox Akimbo is pretty crazy. Like, these TTKs are absolutely busted. In practicality, though, I mean, it's a little bit feast or famine to run a gun that just lacks any semblance of versatility. So, yeah, these are broken, but you have to be barrel stuffing. It's not my cup of tea. It's gonna be frustrating to play against, but yeah, we'll go ahead and take that one off. I think those will get probably nerfed as well. It's a little bit broken to have like 300 millisecond TTKs. That's ridiculous in a BR, no matter what the range is. But the other thing I'll point out is that the Raiden 45K is just a little bit too slow on the TTKs compared to these other ones. So we'll throw that one off. And then, yeah, these guns are all really, really strong. The Razor is disgusting, right? The TTK is the fastest in the game. By the way, I apologize if my mic picks up some of the stomping that's going on upstairs. I got a really, really like busy household, and I'm not going to tell them to like, sit in a straitjacket while I'm recording videos. So I apologize. I try to set up my mic where it won't pick up the stomping, but I think it does tend to pick it up sometimes. I hope it doesn't bother you guys. Just letting you know. But anyway, yeah, the Razor TTK is absolutely disgusting. I think it's kind of undeniable, but we're also splitting hairs, right? Like 20 milliseconds, and then the NPC, my personal favorite, has a little bit less damage fall off, so it makes it a great sniper support, best in class recoil, best in class sprint to fire timers, which is also really important, right? If you have a really mixy fight with lots of repositioning, even though the Razor edges it on TTK, the NPC is going to have that sprint to fire timer, and you'll probably end up hitting more shots, and you get better damage per mag. So I like NPC better, but this TTK, if you just want to run the absolute fastest TTK, kind of like running like a compact last patch, the Razor is pretty nasty. The Kogot's another one. It's got a little bit more range than like the Razor. I just don't really see too much reason to run it over NPC. I think NPC is just slightly better, but Kogot's really good too if you like it. The Carbon is definitely outclassed by these other ones we mentioned, Razor, NPC, and Kogot, just because it has a little bit slower TTK, and for some reason it has a really bad sprint to fire. So I don't really know what that's all about, but it's still good. That's why I have it up here if you like it. But if you want to run the absolute meta, I'd probably pick between the Razor as like my zap, like fry people, and the NPC is just that versatility, sweet spot meta, like an MP5, something like that. I definitely think that's what players are ultimately going to gravitate to. And I think it's also probably the best sniper support. So NPC is fantastic and my personal favorite, but definitely try the Razor as well. If you're someone that just likes to get in there and fry people, win out with brute force, TTK wise. NPC, a little bit more of that versatility, comfort, as well as kind of outplay with other factors, not just TTK. So those are the kind of the 2-horse race for the close range meta. I'll probably organize these into a tier list in the near future, which I think will be really, really, really interesting. Let me know if you want to check that out. And maybe eventually we'll do something crazy like tier list rank every single gun in the game. I think that would be so fun and interesting. I play a wide variety of games, and I've noticed that kind of other genres like MOBAs, hero shooters, stuff like that, love tier lists, and for some reason people don't really do them that much in Warzone, but maybe we can change that. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. Let me know any other feedback you have. If there's something I missed, it's very early. There may be something I missed. If you guys are camo grinding, good luck on that grind. If you're frying lobbies with these meta builds, stay out of my lobby especially when I'm running like horrible guns trying to get camos for them. But have fun, be fulfilled. I appreciate you, Giga fam. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.